Y'all want to die tonight?
Spring break.
Get down!
You're scared, aren't you?
Spring break forever.
Spring break forever.
Spring Breakers is in theaters this weekend. It tells the story of 4 bored college girls who rob a restaurant and travel to Florida to engage in the American annual ritual of spring break. 2 of the stars are Selena Gomez and Vanessa Hudgens, former Disney princesses who spend most of their time in this movie in tiny neon bikinis, doing drugs, and getting wasted. It also stars a creepy James Franco, who plays Alien, a cornrow-wearing gangster with a thick southern drawl.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Who's this?
This is Brent. I'm going to be doing the interview with you.
Oh, okay. Hey, Brent.
Spring Breakers is the latest film from director Harmony Korine, the creator of Gummo, Julian Donkey Boy, Mr. Lonely, and Trash Humpers. His movies don't usually get much mainstream attention. Spring Breakers is being hailed as his most accessible film yet. The look and feel of the movie is a bit like a daydream soaked in candy. Harmony Korine is in studio in Nashville, Tennessee.
How's it going, man? What's up?
There's this great montage in your film where James Franco is at a piano singing Britney Spears Every Time, and there are 3 girls dancing around him in pink balaclavas and guns. Where does that idea come from?
Oh, I don't. It's just something I dreamt up. I don't know where a lot of the stuff comes from. I had probably heard that song a while ago, and some way that I had probably thought that it was connected to the movie and that it had this kind of poppy, slick surface, this almost kind of beautiful or morose pop song. Underneath it, that there was something stranger. I thought there was something more pathological and aggressive, and I don't know. And I just kind of started thinking of like a pop poem or something.
That's a good way of putting it, a pop poem, but also the tension between the beautiful surfaces and what's underneath it, the malevolence, is kind of the tension that runs through the film, and it's a pretty pervasive feeling through the whole thing. You wrote this script when you were in Florida during spring break. Can you describe that experience for us?
Yeah, I mean, I had this idea for this movie, and then I didn't want to make a film that was just like a kind of an expose on spring break or some type of. I wanted to make something that was more like an impressionistic reinterpretation of that culture and just actually what happens after they leave spring break and they go into the kind of the more seedy, the underbelly, the more kind of beach noir, the darkness and the palm trees and the cocaine trade and the money and the violence and kind of the sex, the drugs, and having all those things kind of coalesce and dance together in this kind of strange way. And so I went to Florida 2 years ago during spring break in Panama City and wrote it in a couple of hotel rooms while it was happening, just so I could observe the details and see the things. And
what did you see?
Yeah, it was pretty.
What did you observe?
Crazy. It was just, yeah, it's an American rite of passage. It's something. It's just kind of debauchery. It's kids burning down the motel rooms. The hotels shaking all night long, blasting Taylor Swift, snorting donuts and Ritalin, and found. I saw somebody walking around with a human jawbone that they had found in a chandelier in some motel on the side of the road. Basically just getting into it, turning it up.
How old were you at that point, Harmony, 2 years ago?
16.
No, but I don't think you're a teenager anymore. I'm curious, what was it like being an older guy witnessing this stuff happening in front of you?
Oh, it's great, it's just to know that that stuff's still happening. It's exciting.
The girls in your movie fund their trip to spring break by robbing a chicken shack. And you show this scene to us twice. First from a perspective scene outside the diner, and then later from inside the diner. Why did you choose to shoot it both of those ways and unfurl it the way you did in the film?
I want the movie to be kind of more physical and immersive and a kind of something where you never really get comfortable in a way, or you're always kind of almost like a drug experience in some ways. It's something more hypnotic and with images and sounds coming in all directions, and I just never want you to feel like you know what's coming. Or it was about perspective. Seeing something from the outside at first is one way, and then later on in the film when you go back inside and you see what happened close up and the violence, in the beginning maybe it's almost romantic or it's almost kind of beautiful, and then when you come back to it, it's something else.
A lot is being made of you casting a pair of former Disney princesses in this movie, Vanessa and Selena. And when you put automatic weapons in the hands of pop princesses, what are you saying about that whole mythology?
Well, I'm saying what the movie says, and so.
But aren't you trading? Aren't you trading also on their their reputation as actresses as well?
I don't know what that means, trading.
Well, that you're using it to bolster the theme of your film. It's not a bad thing, right? It's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know. Trading. I always think like trading. Like, what are you trading something? For me, always the most important thing is the film in and of itself, and whether you realize who they are, outside of the movie, or it doesn't matter that they need to work as characters, and the film needs to work on its own in that way, and you need to be able to get lost in it. And then there was this whole other layer that I think you're talking about, in that these girls specifically come from a world that's very different from the world of the film, and that part is also interesting to me, and that in some ways the girls are kind of connected culturally in real life to this kind of pop mythology, and there's something interesting and nice to play against expectation in that way.
Can you say the word spring break the way that James Franco says it in the film?
Spring break.
Yeah.
No, spring break.
That Southern Gulf accent that he has is sounds pretty authentic, and it's an amazing performance from James Franco as Alien. You paired him up with a real Florida rapper, is that true, to help him get into the role?
Yeah. There's this dude down there named Dangerous, and he was, I don't know, I was trying to get him, because the part, his amalgamation of a lot of different characters that I knew growing up in Nashville, and used to ride the bus to school with, and white kids that would rap, that have cornrows and gold teeth, and had kind of black mannerisms and stuff, and it was something based very it's very regional, and I wanted it specific, and at the same time I didn't want it just one way. I wanted him to be, he's almost like a sociopath and a clown and a poet, and this kind of pure charisma and beauty and evil all kind of together, and so I was trying to get him to hang with some dudes that were pretty legit down there, and to kind of understand that world a little bit. So we met this. I had met a lot of kids, and I met this guy named Dangerous who lived in St. Pete, and he had an amazing way of talking, his cadences and stuff, and I just put Franco together with him, and they became friends, and I think it helped his performance.
Well, it's a great performance. What was it like for you to watch Franco transform into Alien?
I mean, it was awesome because I'd been talking to him for a year on about this character, and just trying to design it in this way, and looking at everything from audio clips and I thought anything that was even spiritually connected to his character, clips of girls at a park getting in a fist fight with Mountain Dew bottles or something. Yeah. And I just thought somehow it was in the air. It was the zeitgeist. It was connected. It was physical. It was a kind of there was something that all these things that I was feeling that were connected to his character. And Franco was very kind of quiet about it. He would just look at these things. I wouldn't even know if he was actually looking at stuff or what he was what he was taking in. And then he came down to St. Pete while I was prepping, and we would just drive around late at night through the hood, and I would just say, hey, that's where you got robbed. That's where you robbed some dude on the boardwalk when you were 13, or this is the house you grew up, or this is the trap house where you sold cocaine when you were 15, and this is the car you stole, or whatever. I would just make these things up as we drive around, and he would just kind of breathe it in. And I never really saw him as Alien until the first day of shooting, when he walked out and did that first scene in the park, and I was like, whoa, it was some next level acting.
Where do you get the idea that Alien would have the movie Scarface on a loop, and so 24 hours a day, Brian De Palma's Scarface is unspooling in his crib?
Yeah, it's almost like a cliche in some ways that gangsters mimicking that film. It's almost like a parody of the parody of it. That it's almost it just actually that actually came from rehearsals. It wasn't even in the script. It was just something he was actually kind of, when we were shooting, he was kind of reacting to the different things in the room, and I guess we had a plaque of Scarface on the wall, and he kind of just made that up.
Don't you think that that Alien would know what his fate holds for him if he had that film going 24 hours a day?
Actually, yeah, you might be right. But he's a dreamer, so he probably is just that's never going to happen to me. The thing with gangsters and stuff, it's you just fantasize about the winning, getting the money, getting the girls. You never fantasize about the endings. That's why there's always new gangsters.
So how much of Alien's performance was improvised, and how much of it was scripted?
It's like all the movies, the way I make films. It's kind of hard to say, because the script. I write a script, and then the script is just kind of, for me, it's just, it's just like ideas, like a model kit or something. And what I do is in the prep, and I spend a long time in locations and stuff, just alone, just getting lost, and I start designing it. You get into certain colors and textures and tones in movies are my favorite things. You know, how the world makes you feel. So I get into like designing the tone and
when you say tone, are you talking about the visual tone of the movie? Are you talking about the soundtrack of it?
Everything. Yeah, I'm the way it makes you feel, the way it makes you, like the world, the tone, like the aesthetic. I start thinking about it in that way, and then designing it like that. Like there's almost like an inner vernacular or some type of coded language I'm trying to get at. And then with the acting, it's kind of on the day of the shooting, it kind of becomes this thing it's not really improvised and it's not always scripted. It's this kind of strange, it's like it almost becomes like music in some ways. It's where I kind of just try to go towards the light, you know what I mean? To go towards the energy.
In the past, you've talked about wanting to see your movies get into shopping mall movie theaters, and Spring Breakers is now playing those movie theaters and shopping malls. Do you think that you've been satisfied in terms of trying to create a film that might have some more commercial appeal?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I always, I've been making movies since I was a kid, and you always want the films. Ever since I made movies, I always want them to be seen as many people as possible, I mean, that's my hope. I don't, sit up at night dreaming about that kind of thing, but you always want the films to be seen by as many people as they can be seen by, but for whatever reasons, I made movies that were more difficult for people to see or find, or which again, I'm fine with, too, because I just like making movies, and I'm just I try to be a soldier of cinema. And then at the same time, this film's exciting because people have noticed it, and so that's great.
Why was it important for you to have Faith have a Christian background in this film?
Well, I'd always conceived of the four girls in some ways as being a single entity, as four parts of a whole, and so Faith's character was the morality, and she is without irony. And when she leaves, that's when things get really crazy and exciting and weird.
But when I saw the film, people laughed at the muscular preacher who asked if the kids were jacked up for Jesus. So are you being critical of the level of engagement that their spiritual life had?
Well, I would never tell you that. I mean, I would never give you the answer to that question.
Okay, let me say this. It felt like maybe you were being critical.
Yeah, well, then that's what it feels like. And there's no right or wrong way to take the film. I don't ever argue reactions, good, bad, in between. People see things I didn't intend. People don't see things I intended. It's good. I enjoy making people dream on things and think on things. And if I was to say this is what my intent was and I wanted to turn this, make a joke about this or something like that, I feel like in some ways I'm like, you'd be suffocating it, You just kind of... you want the film to be like magic.
Harmony, it's great to talk to you, and congratulations. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah. It's cool, man. It's cool. I had a good time, and I hope people enjoy it in Canada.
Harmony Korine wrote and directed Spring Breakers, which opened Friday. This is Day 6. Day 6. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. We're at CBC Day 6.